So the first critical choice that I made on my journey was to pick up the phone when my sister called. And that was a profound choice. And what I learned through making that is enduring success begins with making a first choice. Nobody can choose for us. And for me, because I made that choice, I actually earned a chance to change. Now, I've since made other first choices that weren't so profound. They were more practical. When you reflect on your journey to enduring success and the way that you defined it, is there a first choice that you know really has impacted where you're at today?
What comes to mind isn't the choice as much as it is the recognition that I had one. So I remember this was several years before Annie passed away, and in the throes of caregiving, and so I'll give a little backstory with Annie.
Yeah, please.
She when she was 3 years old, we got the diagnosis of MPS type 3A, which is a rare genetic disorder that essentially it's a storage disease. So our cells are usually really, really good at recycling waste. They get rid of stuff, and you've got these little tiny organelles in your cells that are called, why am I blanking on the name? It doesn't matter. But basically, like the garbage, they're the garbage men. They take all the waste out of the cells. And she's missing an enzyme that helps those organelles function properly. So all this buildup is happening in her cells all the time. And so what that results in is neurological and physical decline over time, degeneration over time. So she was talking, walking, running, so much running, normal toddler. And we went and got her tonsils and adenoids out because she had terrible sleep apnea when she was 3. Terrible sleep apnea. And the ear, nose, and throat doctor that performed the surgery very astutely observed that she perhaps had some other intellectual things going on that we weren't aware of yet. And I was so offended. I was like, my perfect 3-year-old child, like, how dare you tell me that there's something wrong with her? But that kind of just like stuck in the back of my mind. Like, okay, maybe we could do some additional testing. And she just was behind in her speech, but nothing that wasn't explainable still.
Yeah.
And through a little bit of it was very serendipitous that we went and saw a geneticist and did some blood work. And that's when the testing came back as with the Sanfilippo disorder. So over time, she peaked or plateaued in her skill development and then started to slowly lose her skills over time. So she stopped talking. Eventually she got a feeding tube, eventually was stumbling around and was then crawling again, and then was completely immobile.
Oh my God, Morgan.
And then a lot of, additional things that would come with someone who, an older person who has Alzheimer's. So the forgetfulness, the lack of eye contact, she had trouble remembering how to swallow, all the stuff that comes with like bowel troubles, and all of these things are happening over this decade with her. So in the midst of this, I remember sitting in her bedroom and just being so angry and so broken, so sad that this was happening to her. And I was thinking, why her? And why me? I don't want this. I don't want to do this. This is terrible. This is awful. This sucks. This is the worst. All things that are true. And I had this light bulb moment where I was like, where what I was thinking was, this shouldn't be happening. And the light bulb moment was, but it is happening. And I don't know why that is, but that internal realization of when I was resisting, what is reality? When I realized it doesn't matter how much I resist it, it's still reality. So what can I do with that? it introduced this awareness that I really did have a choice of how to show up. I really did have a choice. If I wanted to stay there, I could have left. I could have had any number of things that would remove me from that situation. But in that moment, I realized I get to choose the value of the care and loving compassion from my daughter. I get to choose to continue to have to face this hard thing head on. I get to choose to continue to have conversations with her healthcare providers and fight with the insurance companies and, face all of these awful things that were happening to her. I got to choose that. And that was a pivotal moment for me, a pivotal moment where every time something hard comes up, I look for the choice and then I get to make it intentionally. And that is a powerful, powerful piece of awareness.
And you said what the thing that then was on my mind. Do you find, I think the answer is yes, that there are times in which you have to make that choice again. Recognize
of course.
It's a choice.
Yes. I had to choose it over and over and over again.
Yeah. In that situation, with that love of a mother, and then I'm sure in then other situations, it is the recognition that it's a choice. Yes. And at that moment when you were sitting with Annie on her bed and you had that recognition, did you feel a physical shift within you? Like, was there a shift that you felt and were cognizant of? And then it's like, okay.
I don't know. I have a sense that it wasn't that all of these pieces, understanding choice, didn't come together at that point, but it was definitely like the first push at the top of the hill, where I was like, okay, here it comes. And it's just built since there over the last, 5 or 6 years. And you're absolutely right. Like, yes, it is. It is because I think it is less common for people to have this significant life-shattering, life-altering understanding and awareness, and from then on their life is totally different. No, for me it was this trickle of understanding and awareness of the ability to choose. And then, like you said, it's like it wasn't just in that context of my care and my love for Annie. It trickled out into how I take care of myself, how I relate in my relationships. Like it covered everything, but that happened over time for sure.
And I 100% relate to that in two ways. And then I have conversations with people around this. One, I relate to it because in fact, I experienced the same thing. I lay out these 5 choices. They're linear. For me, they were linear. For other people, it's not linear. But I mean, I made these 5 choices across a 25-year period, and I didn't even know I was like, it took major reflection which is my second point, is reflection. Reflecting on what did I do? Why did I do it? And then what happened? And so then can I make that choice again? Or maybe I don't want to make that choice again. But the whole idea of reflection. And I know that I believe that you practice meditation and mindfulness. Mm-hmm. I don't. I keep saying I'm going to get on your bandwagon with your next cohort. But I liken it, I think, to reflecting, which is we don't do it enough, I think, as humans. And reflecting on the choices that we've made and then the outcome of that, for me and for you, has helped to propel and help us on our journeys. And I hope that other people around me do that. I try to, teach that a little bit.
Yeah, certainly.
Thank you for joining me for this episode of the Choose and Become interview series. To check out more episodes, go to www.trishkendall.com/podcast, or go to any of your favorite podcast channels, including YouTube, under Trish Kendall Speaks, and you'll find this interview and more. Choose and become.